Action.
So, Mike Nicholls.
What up, what up?
My brother. I cannot tell you how much you have been the sun through the clouds through this past 10 weeks. Like your energy, even in the midst of everything that's going on in the world, personal things, shifts, life, right? Still living after a global pandemic and a lot going on. And you still somehow having the energy in the midst of the cohort to be like, hold on, everybody, real quick. Michaela, what font is that? My favorite conversation I have with Trey is how much fun you and I are having and how much I have never wanted a cohort to be done with so much just so I can hang with everybody. Mm-hmm. But like your energy and honesty has been such a foundational, like specifically for me, I can't speak for anyone else in the cohort, but like your presence has been such a delight, and your passion for design, storytelling, the diaspora, all of our stories. It's just great, man. So I'm really glad to be able to have been present as you bring UMBER back into the forefront, not only of the world, but of like your life and times and what it means for the community. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Thank you
Yes.
for being here. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Talk to us about where we've arrived to with UMBER after we won't call it a hiatus, we'll call it a chrysalis.
Okay, well, I like that, chrysalis. Yeah, man, in this process, I really want to get back to my roots of why I did this in the beginning.
Yeah.
And it really started with art and design and music. That's
just like those
yeah. are the things that are important to me. And then really getting back to my why I'm doing this, you know?
Yeah.
And my why definitely is rooted in, this idea started actually in 2006. Mm-hmm. So for 20 years, this has been in my mind.
Yeah.
And really it was around, at the time, all the art and design magazines I would collect. I would never see enough of us in there, us meaning black and brown people. And I'll have to read 15 different magazines just to get enough of us. I'm like, what if we're all in one? Mm-hmm. What if we just put them all in one magazine?
Yeah.
And so then that was really where it started off as in 2006. And then through trials and tribulations and starting, I did a prototype of UMBER in 2012. Shared it with a friend April here. Mm-hmm. And so she's definitely been a part of this journey. And so really just trying to figure out, okay, can I make this real?
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times when I'm creating, I need to make something tangible, small.
Yeah.
Right. Something I could just do all myself, as an example. And then really what I'm drawing from is this, right? And so as a designer and creative, hip hop has always been my language. Hip hop has been a way for me to talk and express my views, right? So Wild Style was like the movie for me, you know what I'm saying? And so when I was a kid, I tried all the things. I was b-boying, I was breakdancing, the same thing. I was breakdancing, I was DJing, I was rapping, I was doing graffiti, right? So that movie just really made me see the whole picture of hip hop, not just rap music, right? And so another movie that really inspired me is The Matrix, right? You know what I'm saying? So really, if you think about UMBER inspiration-wise, it's definitely rooted in my love for hip hop music. It's definitely rooted in, because with hip hop music, it gave me a space to. So growing up, I actually stuttered real bad. And so one of the things my teacher told me is that when you talk in rhythm, you won't stutter. So tap your feet every time you talk. And she didn't know I've been writing rap since I was like 10, right? And so seeing magazines like The Source was like, oh, okay, I get this, right? You know what I'm saying? And so definitely hip hop is the through line. Yeah. Hip hop has always been a part of it. And then even really, so here's the thing. And in design school, you learn about Eames, Loungehair, and Herman Miller.
Yeah.
And I always picture this with UMBER is relaxing on the Eames lounge chair on your grandma's porch, listening to Gangstar, Weather Report, and Doechii. That is UMBER.
That's a great cross section.
You know what I'm saying? So that's really what I really am inspired by, and just visually graphics rooted in the 90s, in the 60s, places like my hometown Charlotte, where I grew up, places like London, our family in London, just talk about the collage of the diaspora. A place like London is that.
Yeah, and it's also the references of like how hip hop has shown up in pop culture, everything from Afro Samurai to Combat. Shout out to Reggie, rest in peace. Shout out to American Fiction, but also Kerry James Marshall, but also that amazing picture of Ice Cube sitting in the Eames chair. Right?
Yes,
like there's all of these things, and it would show up in things like you adding up the fact that it's Vibe meets National Geographic meets Immigrant. Like there's something to be said about the anthropological approach to all of these, right? So you have hip hop, you have culture, and you have art and design, like all of these things showing up here, but through this very specific lens. Yeah. It's a really beautiful thing when you think about people like this being involved in whether it's the production of the magazine or the consumption of the magazine or the audience for the magazine. Yeah. Yeah. It makes sense because all of them have been in one way or another tied to influence the culture, been influenced by the culture, but they found their own ways of expressing that. How do these individuals here feed into a world like this, where people are going to seek out rare records, but also attending talks and dinners that allow them to gather and searching for vintage cameras and alone time while also making live sound recordings and watching things on now? And it's like, why does this make sense for the mindset?
It's slow. It's slow. It's the slow burn. It's the not having to scroll, like it's the infinite, there's a fixed point. When you're finished, you're done, you put it down.
Like the magazine has an endpoint.
It has an endpoint. Yeah. Right, and all of these artists, these creatives, they create for an endpoint, right? You know what I'm saying? And so with Dominique Dreyford, she's a cultural vanguard when it comes to sustainability, and just her intelligence and how she talks about it, right? DJ Crush, I've been a fan of his music since I was in college, 96. The way he uses jazz and these sounds to make this beautiful hip-hop landscape. Daniel Smith was the editor for Vibe in the 90s, right? Just her journey as a journalist and an author, living like partly in the Bay and in LA. Futura was like, he transcended that, like, yes, I'm a graffiti artist, but now I'm showing in exhibits. Yeah. Now I'm being a part of these brand partnerships, right, with Complex and doing album covers for hip hop albums, right?
Like BMW art cars.
Exactly, right? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? How do you take and still being authentic? Yeah. You know, Joshua Kissy, like, I followed him for over a decade now. When she did, was it Street Etiquette?
Yep, Street Etiquette to what was the film or the photo project he did? Was it Tonal with like stock images?
With Tonal, he did that, and so like those stories. The way that you are intentional when I want to share this story and tell it in a way that feels like I said, is a fixed point, but it allows you to kind of sit and absorb it and sit with it.
And then Ian Spalter,
I learned about him from, there's a docuseries on Netflix called Abstract.
Yes, that's why I was like, I know that guy.
Dude designed the logo for Instagram. This black dude who's living in Japan designed the logo for Instagram. Right, and just hearing his story, and I was able to actually get in contact with him via email. Right, it's like, hey, dude, you want to be a number? You know what I'm saying? Like that's always how I try to engage with them. So because of what they create, you understand their lifestyle. Right. There's even when it's come to where it is having dinner parties with friends, You know, where it's shared, like, you know, so my dad is from St. Vincent. He's from the West Indies, right? So my mom was from the South, from South Carolina, and my dad is from St. Vincent. And so when you have those two worlds, you're going to be drinking malt drinks, right? You know what I'm saying? And so there's a way to where they're both are from places that are really small, so they have shared experiences of living on dirt roads, right? Seeing the farms and the chickens and you know, and that sort of like rooted aesthetic work. But that's Umber. Yeah. That's the soil of Umber, is and those experiences.
That presence feels very authentic as well.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because, you know, talking about the website as a portal, as you get into more of the multimedia offering, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
Bookstores, but I would also say community spaces as well. Like, I got introduced to Umber through seeing it at Sip and Sonder, which shout out to Shanita. Like,
so, I know this. So, I met Shanita and Amanda Jean in 2018. I think y'all had just opened up Sip and Sonder around that time. And I just, at the time, I had some love in Oakland for Umber, but I didn't know anybody in LA. I knew April, but that was it. I literally would go to every spot that was a magazine store, a coffee shop. Hey, I got this cool magazine, Umber. And I remember placing my magazine in their shop. And that same weekend, I had a impromptu invite at a friend's house, at his dad's house, and they showed up. And Amanda Jean and Shanita showed up after the little get-together. It was hella small, right? And so those, to your point, that is the gateway for Umber. That's the access point, because I am Umber, right? You know what I'm saying?
But the community part of it makes sense of like the discovery. But to that point of you being Umber, like when you speak, like this is a slide from you doing a creative warnings talk in the Bay.
Yeah.
Being able to draw an opportunity to meet where you stand in any of these formats and it's still authentic, like that through line is an invaluable thing to have. And so when we get into the print and digital component, but then wanting to get further into like more events and the creative studio, I feel like this part is you folding in an independent design practice under the Umber umbrella.
Yes.
But the curated events, I really want to spend a moment on that, because to the story that you just shared, people discovering Umber as a publication almost feels like the secondary part versus Umber being the vehicle to find each other.
Yeah.
Why are the events
Oh my gosh, Lord of mercy. Dude, I wanted Umber to be a beacon. I wanted it to be a beacon. I can't be out here by myself like this. There's no way, the way I think, I'm the only one.
Yeah.
So I really don't want to make that beacon of like, is anybody out there?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But to your point though, these events are really important to me. I don't like big crowds. I love this. This is great. Yeah. Anything more than this, like, But those moments where you have actually time to actually get to learn their story, have a connection that feels real and authentic.
Yeah.
Those are the key moments, right? Because with that being said, every feature in Umber, there is a personal story and connection.
100%.
I met you somewhere, you saw me somewhere, or a friend of mine said, Mike, you should learn about her work, so go check it out.
Like you're being a hands-on editor at that point and picking the stories.
Yeah, there's no submission process. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I don't like telling people no.
Yeah. But it's interesting because like when you look at your contemporaries, they all kind of follow a similar model. Like Deem, Complex, Vice magazine.
Yeah.
Deem started as almost an advertisement for the studio that, you know, New and Alice had, you know what I mean? And it was just like,
there you go.
They wanted to focus on this one thing. And to your point, we can't be the only people thinking at this particular intersection. It was the same thing if you hear Mark Echo talk about Complex or Vice, like doing those stories, you know, before it became like overwhelmingly anxiety driven. But like, you know what I mean? Like it was still, they were digging into cultures that no one else was talking about.
There you go.
And so it makes sense to see you all existing in that realm of contemporaries. And it feels that the value proposition is about the same, like a premium magazine that speaks to a very specific niche. Purchasing online, shipping, unboxing, sharing things on IG stories. Hell, I did this to you with text messages when you sent me the whole collection of things. So the customer journey is pretty straightforward if you ever bought a magazine that was specific to a particular culture. But I really want to talk more about what the future looks like. Like, where are we going? What are we building, and what do you need to have that? Like, I'm seeing Deem's conference in Chicago. I'm seeing a conversation series here. I'm seeing more gatherings and events, spaces. I'm seeing a uniform looks very similar to what you have on right now.
We can talk about that.
But like, where are we going with UMBER?
I want a TV channel.
Okay.
I want a TV channel.
Okay.
Similar to in National Geographic, how they shifted
Yeah.
to doing. They've been around since 1888, and the way that people cherish those magazines, those vintage National Geographic magazines, and how they shifted these stories and content to online. And
Same approach, just different content consumption model.
exactly,
Yeah.
same thing, right? So I want a TV channel. I mean, I have a son who's 14 years old, and I think about what stories I'm planning out for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50.
Yeah.
Because our stories need to be shared and curated by us. There's a problem with media,
Yeah.
and I'm tired of it, honestly.
Yeah.
The way that these media corporations who don't have our same shared experiences are fragmenting and chopping up our stories in a way that makes sense for them, but not for us.
And that's where the archive practice comes
There you
in
go.
for UMBER.
And so really it's a TV channel,
Yeah.
it's video content.
And this would be all of the team members from within, like the studio that's powering the creation of these things.
Yep.
Got it. And so when we get into how to support and what that looks like,
You got a whole lot of options.
visiting the studio, supporting UMBER, joining the newsletter, like, tell me you worked in branding without telling me you worked in branding. It's like everybody, there's a QR code, there's no excuse to not have this information here. But I also love that your ask is, we're not lacking, we have an abundance. We're going to keep doing what we're doing. We just need more of you to see it.
Yep.
And I think that there is a beauty in realizing that. My brother said something really profound to me once, which was hilariously in the midst of like, you ever have a conversation that slowly starts to feel like an argument and then it kind of turns a corner and just becomes like a deep conversation?
Mm-hmm.
And he said something to me, I was in a bit of a self-doubt point. He said, bro, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing. You just need to tell more of the right people about it. You're doing the thing. And so I would say the same thing for you. And I think everyone should reach out to you because, to quote you, you belong everywhere that you are invited.
Yes.
And because of you being here, I hope that you are now invited everywhere. So thank you, Mike.
There's one quick thing I want to say right quick.
Absolutely.
One quick thing. This cohort is badass.
Well, thank you. And I would agree.
But and I love how everybody started off with like, they don't want to do shit for other people anymore. Like, fuck this shit, I want to do it for me.
Yeah.
And I realize I understand that my creative practice is this.
Yeah.
It's layout, design.
Come on, put your money where your mouth is.
This is my palette.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Do y'all see what it was like to be with this man for 10 weeks?
This is my joy, laying out design. This is how I process work. Like UMBER is my joy in making shit that I want to make without anybody telling me how it should look. Like this is it, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I do. This is my canvas, my palette, my color, composition, space, all of that. So I want to keep doing that as long as I can.
And we are all the better for it. And I
So I just want to make sure I just say I
appreciate that.
Design is my art practice, and so
well, let's
Hercules.
keep you doing it. Find Mike, support Mike, and also let me just make this point very clear. Mike does not live in Los Angeles. Mike lives in the Bay. Not just was in the Bay and down here. Is going back and still found a way to come down here 3 times?
3 times.
3 times. The first time doesn't count because LA was on fire.
Well, it counts because I came down.
Well, he came down, but it's like, it should be 4 times. I don't want to hear that you can't get to Highland Park. He just proved you to be lacking. No, I'm just kidding. People have real things. But it's a real thing of like showing up for this cohort. That means a lot. So thank you very much. And let's give it up for Mike Nicholls.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
It's hot.